Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Cracking the Cryptic. Now, unless something horribly happens today, we should be done with this series. This extremely long-running series. In number of episodes, it's kind of long, and in the length of time in total, it is really, really long. Now, I'm in about the worst position possible. It's the end of the day, and I'm about to do a 6-star difficulty puzzle, which would be twice as much as puzzle number 2, which took me 75 minutes. Really only took about 60 minutes, so if we get lucky, maybe we'll have 2 hours of experience here. And this will be the last of the 3 domino sample domino puzzles, which will be the last of the free packs, and it will also be the last of me probably ever doing Cracking the Cryptic. There is a slight opening here if Cracking the Cryptic as an app just got really polished over the course of a year or longer, if it had a lot more of a tutorial at the beginning, if it had some more free sample packs to show off that, hey, they're trying to really be approachable to people who are not just the best of Sudoku puzzles. If there was even a new variant that was invented, which I kind of think Cracking the Cryptic's YouTube page has to kind of desperately seek out new variants as a way of making more Studio Goya Sudoku games, either as DLC for Cracking the Cryptic or as their own standalone games. These games also are sold on iOS and Android phones, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are designed to sell well in those categories too. This is a full XV Sudoku compared to the partial domino Sudoku, which was XVs and black and white dots. This is going to just be X's and V's. So the rules are classic Sudoku rules. There must be the digits 1 through 9 in every row, every column, and every box. And then the variant of full XV says that an X between 2 spots means the sum must equal 10, Roman numeral 10, and an X between a V between 2 spots means that the 2 digits must sum to 5. In a full XV, as compared to a partial XV, all possible X's and V's are being given, so there is major negative influences here as far as what the digits really could be. For instance, here, if we know that this is a 1, then we can just negatively apply here that this can't be a 9 because there would be an X here to sum to the 1 and 9 here, and it also can't be a 4 because there isn't a V here to sum to that, which then that can tell us of the possibilities to make 10 here. This can be a 1, a 2, a 3. It can't be a 5 because it can't be 5, 5. And it can't be 4. And it could be 6. And it could be 7. And it could be 8. So let's just go ahead and get rid of the 4 9s. There. And then we can just contrast this with the tens complement to each digit. So tens complement of 1 would be 9, tens complement of 2 would be 8, 3 would be 7, 6 would be 4, 7 would be 3, 8 would be 2. However, we also can do further elimination by just basic Sudoku and see that a 1 can't actually be in this spot. So that gets rid of 1 and 9. And a 3 can't be in this box. So that gets rid of 3 and 7 here. And 3 and 7 here. Which leaves us just with a 2, 8 pair. Or a 6 and a 4 here. From the same logic, we can mark that this can't be a 4 and this can't be a 5, which that actually, no, not 5. It can't be a 6. Yeah. 4 and 6 would be 10, since there's not a V in there. So then this could be 2, could be 3, can't be 4, can't be 5. It can't be 6, could be 7, could be 8, could be 9, but then by basic Sudoku there's a 1 and a 3 here that should be eliminated. And so we just will get rid of the 6 too. So it's either 2, 8, 7, or 9. Then we can put in the 10's complements here to say that this would be 8, this would be 3, or this would be 2, or this would be 1. Okay. And I think that is how we're going to fill in the rest of this. So let's just go over here and do this one. I'll have to be careful to make sure I see the V's that are on the lines here, because otherwise that will be vital information that's missed. And I do think we'll be jumping around quite a bit. So this one can't be a 1, and 5 is not even a consideration there. We also know it can't be a 3, and it can't be a 9. So just by basic Sudoku, let's mark all of the can'ts at the beginning here. We also know it can't be a 5 and it can't be a 7. And by basic Sudoku, which then would mean it could be a 2 and it could be a 4, and that's pretty much it. So it would be nice if there was a button to eliminate all the red marks in this situation. Yeah. But yeah, the possibilities are 1, and it can't be 3 over here, can it? Because there's a 3 already in this spot. So, we know this can't be 1, so then we know, if our math is right and our logic is right, that that is 4 and 1, which is going to very quickly elevate that the 1 has to be in this spot. So is there possibly any logic that we can do here? 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8, other than we wouldn't be able to put certain digits next to each other. I did that all completely wrong. That's not how I wanted to mark that. 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like that. We could, I guess, play with this somewhat and see that there isn't a 4 here, and there isn't a 9 here. There isn't a 1 here. This can't be a 6, because then there would be an X. This couldn't be a 2, and this couldn't be a 7. 2 and 7. This can't be a 2. And this can't be a 7. And yeah, I think speculation on one number next to another number wouldn't really do anything. Let's try this a little bit differently this time. We'll just put in all the possible combinations into these spots, which would just be every digit instead of 5. Then we'll remove 9 because 9's already in the box. From this spot we will remove 1, 4, and 3 because 1, 4, and 3 are in that column. From this spot we will remove 1. So then that means we could be 2 and 8, but we could be 6 and 4, or 7 and 3, or 8 or 2. But in this side we can, let's see, not do 6 and 4, so this can't be 6, and we can do 7. We can't do 7 and 3, so this can't be 7. We could do 8 and 2. Yeah, that looks like that is the right move. Then 5 doesn't really tell you anything about this because 5 to get to 5 wouldn't work, and 5 to get to 9 wouldn't work. So 5's pretty useless as far as the restriction of there needing to be a V or an X here if 5 was away. And 1 really would only get us that far. We could fill in this spot since we have a digit on the edge, and it is going to, in a very unique way, cross lines and barriers here, in that this number can be a 2. It can't be a 3 by basic Sudoku, can't be a 4 by basic Sudoku, also can't be a 4 because there would be a V there. Could be 3, except for 3 is already blocked, so can't be 5 because there's already 5 here. Could be 6, I guess. Could be 7, I guess. And could be 8, I guess, but can't be 9. So we might just get a 2, 6, 7, 8 quadruple, and that might eliminate some other things. The digit here can't be 2. Could be 1, but can't be 2 because then that would add up to 5. Can't be 3 by basic Sudoku. Can't be 4 by basic Sudoku. Can't be 5 by basic Sudoku. Could be 6. Can't be 7 by basic Sudoku. Also couldn't be 7 because that would add up to 10. And could be 8. So you've got 1, 6, 8 as possibilities in that spot, which means the 10's complement for that would just be 9, 4, and 2. So, what else can we do? I feel like you could do some kind of basic math here, but I don't think that would help as much as just doing the possibilities here as far as what digits can be in this spot. It could be 1 if that click actually works, and then it could be 2, but it can't be 3, and can't be 4, can't be 5, it could be 6, can't be 7, it could be 8. None of these digits add to the 7 to get a V or an X in that spot. Which then my thought would be, by basic Sudoku, what are the remaining digits that we can have here? We could be 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 8. Okay. And is any of these digits eliminated by a 5? No, I don't think 5 would eliminate anything ever, unless there's... No, it just wouldn't. There would have to be an X or a V in the corners, and if you put an X and V in the corners, then it would have to be a case that both sides add up to 10. It should be interesting, but I haven't ever seen it done that way. It'd also just be really hard to see the X's or the V's. I kind of wonder if maybe there's a trick here where this 2 can't be here because one of these two have to be 8, and that otherwise there would be an X in between it, and so therefore one of these is 2, probably this, and then this is 8. Is there any other scenario where that's possibly the case? Let's see. 8 here. Well, I think part of the problem is this digit. If I for certain knew that to be the case, we might be able to solve something, but I think right now this spot actually doesn't tell me anything yet. So I don't want to mess with that. We could try to fill in the rest of this box, or we could even try and fill in the rest of this box. Let's try these. Okay, so 2 can't be 3, can't be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in those spots. I think that's right. And then we could really only just speculate on this digit based on this digit. Yes, if this is 2, then this can't be 8, but if this is 5, this could be 2 or 8. We would have to speculate based on one solid piece of information, and we can do that this wouldn't be 2, because that would add up to 5, and this wouldn't be 7 because that would add up to 10, so that brings that down to just 5, 6, 8. That's still helpful. And then I can 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8, the digits up here. And then this one doesn't eliminate anything, and these can't be eliminated by anything. We could say here though that 5, 6, 7, 8 are eliminated because this has to sum to 5. So if that is correct, then that has to be a 2. Nope. So there's a 4 that needs to also be here. Yep. Which means there needs to be a 4 here. But then a 1 and 4 would equal 5. So remove the 4 there. And the possibility of a 4 here. And yes, we know that it is a 4, but in an effort to solve this by logic only, I'm not going to fill in that answer until we can logically realize the answer. In this case, the possibilities are 1, 2, 3, 4, not 5, 6, 7, 8, not 9, and then in this spot, you know it's not a 1 by Sudoku, and in this spot, we know they're not 3s by Sudoku. And then this 5 information doesn't help me at all. And this X information doesn't really help me too much. We can put in all the 10's complements to, 9, 8, 6, 4, 3, and 2. And that only gets you so far, though. I could put in this spot and this spot just every single digit except for 5. Because that's all that information tells me. But it is at least eliminating the 5s, which we should have known anyways, because the 5 would have been in the box in both of those cases. In this spot, we would be adding everything except for 5 again. And same is for this spot. And then we would just be removing 7s and 2s from that combination. We could also remove the 4 by basic Sudoku in this spot, which would remove the 6 from that spot. For this spot, we can put in 1 and 2, but not 3 because that would be a 10's complements. Then 4, then not 5 because there's already 5 in this box. Then 6, then 7, 8, and 9. And for these spots, it would be everything except for 7 and 2, with 5 being removed from that one, and 5 and 4 being removed from that one. For this spot and this spot, it's everything except for 5 and 7. And for all of these, it's everything except for 5 and 4. And then 7 removed as a possibility from that, and 2 removed from possibilities from that. For this section, it's 2, but not 1, not 3, not 4, not 5, then 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. And we have no solid numbers to get any further than that. For this row, it's everything except for 1. For this row, it's 1 but not 2, then 3, then 4, then no 5, then 6, then no 7, then 8, then no 9. And that leaves the remaining of these spots fully filled in with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Just every possibility. Now, what I do start to recognize here is that on this V here, there's an illogical thing here. 5s shouldn't be here, 6s shouldn't be here, 7s shouldn't be here, 8s shouldn't be here, and then 9s shouldn't be here. So that gets more controllable. And then because this can't be 4, this can't be 1. So it can be 1, 4 in that order, which we should just mark that as a possibility. 1, 4, and then get rid of the 1s and the 4s. So it's either 1, 4 or 2, 3 pair. Which let's just go ahead and highlight that with a color. Since there's multiple choices there. Did we end up doing anything else like that when filling in all these digits? See, and I just wouldn't really want to eliminate possibilities here based on whether this is a 1 or a 3, unless I absolutely have to do that. Because I think that would just get very speculative where you would have it be 1 or 3. We can, I guess, mark this a little bit better. And that this should be 1 up here and 4 up here. And we'll go ahead and highlight that also. And once we get the combinations, possible combinations here done, actually we can do that on this too. This is a 6. And this is a 4. I'm not being very efficient on how I'm clicking all of this. It's a 6 or a 4, or it's a 2-8 pair in that spot. And we can better label, I guess, a lot of this. This one's still got 3 different options, so it could be 2 and 8, it could be 4 and 6, or it could be 9 and 1, so let's wait until that eliminates some possibilities. This could be a 2-8 pair with a 3 or 7 or 4 or 6, so there's 3 possibilities there. This one has a ton of possibilities, this one has a ton of possibilities. This one could be a 2-8 pair on either side, or it's a 1 and 9 or a 7 and 3. So it would be nice if there was just like a third way to list the possible combinations. But yeah, no such luck. This 4 can't have a 6 here, I noticed. So that eliminates 1 digit. This and this. Yeah. I'm just looking to see if there's any locked in digits at all that we've overlooked. I suspect the answer is probably no. Look, 8 can't be here. And a 3 can't be here. Because this is a 2. And a 3 can't be here. And an 8 can't be here because this is a 2. And a 3 can't be here. It almost seems like it would be worth it, however, to just go ahead and color in everything, just so it jumps out to my eyes as a possibility. Guess we'll use a 3 again. Yeah, I think visually that works better. We don't need to color in the one we've already filled in now. So 28 minutes into this, though, I think we're just going to start doing some basic brute force Sudoku. We're going to see what digits influence other digits, see where we potentially have mislabeled things because we didn't fill in the digits correctly in the first place. Yeah. And hope, I suppose the hope is that that will line up to mean something. 3 has to be here, so we can elevate that, I suppose. And then 3 has to be here, so we can elevate that. Am I correct about this? Yes. We need a 3 at the bottom, which means none of these can be 3. Which also means neither one of these can be a 7. Okay. And since this can't be 3, this can't be 7. Still have a lot of numbers though, with 4 or 5 different possibilities. But maybe we'll just slowly make progress through everything. This one can't be a 4, since there's a 4 already in the box. This one can't be a 5 by basic Sudoku. This one has to be a 5. One of those two do. But wait a minute, this already has a 5 influencing that, so then this has to be a 5. Okay. Which means one of those two have to be a 5. And then these two shouldn't have a 5 marked. That's a possibility. 6s seem like they're pretty much a mess. 7s, this can't be a 7. These two can't be 7s. This can be a 7, these can be 7s. But wait a minute, we've got a 7 marked in here. So eliminate all those possibilities as a 7. And then also eliminate these possibilities as having a 7. Did a really poor job with 7s. These two, one of those two, have to be a 7. Eights seem like a big mess at the moment, and 9s probably won't help us much either. Weirdly, I must have done something wrong here, because something here said that this couldn't be a 9 and this couldn't be a 9, and I have no way of any of these being 9s. So where did we drop the ball on 9s? If this was 2, 3, I mean it's either 1, 4 or 2, 3. And even if it was backwards, where this was 1 here, which it can't be, then that would just make 4. A 1 being here would say this can't be a 9. And this can't be a 9. But I don't see anything that says This can't be a 9. And this can't be a 9. I'm just going to throw those back in there, and hopefully that will just correct me back on the right path from making a tiny mistake. But even the tiny mistakes, honestly, can just ruin a run. There is an odd, like, roguelite equivalency to doing Sudoku. At least the way I would do Sudoku puzzles, if I was just constantly doing it, where Sudoku puzzles, until you've completely solved them, kind of just can go on forever. And so if you were to make more of a video game style of a Sudoku video game that included Sudoku, playing till you make your first mistake might be a way of gaining some kind of resources to then play the next puzzle until your first mistake, and then big bonus rewards should come from not making a mistake at all and solving the puzzles. But that shouldn't just, in that kind of game, if you were to create something like that where it was Rogue Sudoku, which is a great name for a Sudoku game, the goal wouldn't be always to solve those Sudoku puzzles without making any mistakes. You would get, if it is a roguelite game, you would get some kind of resource that could be used in the next Sudoku puzzle you would use. If it was just a roguelike, L-I-K-E game, then you would just get a score based on playing up until your first mistake. One hit kill, effectively Sudoku. Which it would be easier to make a roguelike, but it's more interesting by far to make a roguelite that would give you maybe extra hearts, so you could make one mistake as a purchase, or starting with one extra digit on the board. I mean, there really is a lot you could do there as a video game twist on a pen and paper Sudoku. So where are we now? Why did I determine that these can't be 9? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's see. I don't think basic Sudoku, brute forcing it, is going to get me any further. So there must be something I'm failing to consider in the, probably the negative exclusion of there can't be any more X's or V's. Or in possibly the combinations here. Maybe I have eliminated some combinations that I haven't realized I've eliminated. It could also be a case where maybe there is a lone digit, a single, that I just haven't recognized. But yeah, this is not getting me anywhere, so let's consider some things here. This one, go back and just consider it. 8 can be 2, 2 can be 8. 3 can no longer be included because we have a 7 that never should have been there in the first place. So let's get rid of that. So then this is either a 1, 9 or 2, 8 pair, which then we can elevate that to a 9 and elevate that to a 1. Which then labels things a little bit nicer if I just remember that's what that means, because half of the time, more often than even half the time, when you elevate a number, it means the digit has to be here, and I've done that in the exact same spot exact same puzzle. Then in this case, the elevated 9 means that there has to be a 9 here. In this case, there doesn't have to be a 9 here. It could be a 2-8 pair. And if this was 9, that wouldn't affect that. And if it was 2, it wouldn't affect anything. Yeah. Until we have like really solid numbers next to things. None of it affects anything. It does just kind of feel like these other possibilities can't be labeled much better. Let's see, 1-9 is a possibility. Is a 3-7 a possibility? No, so this shouldn't have a 3 in it. Is a 6-4 a possibility? Yes. Is an 8-2 a possibility? No, so it shouldn't have an 8 in it. So it's either 1-9 pair or a 6 and a 4. Which, okay. So that makes that look a little bit nicer. At that point, does that mean that 3 has to be here? 3 can't be here because of the 7. 3 can't be here because of the 2, and 3 can't be here because of the 2. And we have determined that there can't be a 7, so there can't be a 3 in this pair. So there we have a solid digit, which then eliminates that from being 2. Maybe that helps a little bit. I imagine it probably doesn't help that much. And then if you have 1, 6, 9 as the 3 possibilities here, but it doesn't quite work that way, does it? Because this could be 6, 4. So like whatever this is going to affect these, or whatever these are going to affect that. So honestly, it doesn't feel like that digit changed enough. Let's consider all the possibilities here. 1 and 9 both ways. 2 and 8 both ways. 4 and 6 both ways. Yeah, I can't change anything there. If a 3 can't be in any of these spots, and we're looking at 3s, and the 3 can't be here, then we know this is a 3, so that did help. Then we know that's a 7. Okay. And then that can't be a 2, and this can't be a 3. Okay. That means one of these two here have to be a 7. Is that not correct? Let's look at the influence. Yeah. If a 7 can't be here, because a 3 can't be here, and a 7 can't be here, and 3 and 7 block both 3 and 7 here, then a 7 has to be here. And so instead of even elevating this as a 5-7, it's easier to simply just eliminate all of the other possibilities down to a 5-7 pair. Which would have eliminated any 5s or 7s otherwise, if we had any. I guess we'll go with purple in that pair. And then the rest of this row seems like it's kind of a mess. Is there Well, I guess there can't be a 2 here. And there couldn't be a 7 there. Which means if we were to look at 2s, the only way a 2 could be in the middle would be here. Which means this can't be 2. Which means this can't be 8. And then this can't be 2. And this can't be 2. No, it does not mean that. It all pretty much means the opposite of that. This has to be 2, or this has to be 2. Yeah, and 2 could be here, and this could be 8, or 2 could be here and 2 could be here. Okay. See what we have with 3s, if anything has changed there. Oh, I guess it is really important to once again highlight the fact that this game also has no music. It's pretty easy to forget that, considering I have Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel in the background making music for this series, but yeah, there's absolutely 0 sound effects here. Yeah, there's a long list of complaints, and just really this game is better than Sudoku Universe in its current state just because of the features, but the lack of polish really puts it in something that I would expect to be labeled as early access, frankly, and with a year of time to have worked on it, it still doesn't feel like it's even in a 1.0 version of completionness for just the interface and features, let alone the puzzles, which the puzzles themselves, you basically need a department or at least several people working on puzzles at all times, and then a department or at least several people, or at least one person working on the user interface and the application itself. These have to be 7 here. Maybe we could figure out what the other digits are. Maybe that would work for us. So we can't have an 8 here because this would be 2 8. Can't have an 8 here. So then that means this has to be an 8. Okay. Then either there's an 8 here and an 8 here, or there is an 8 in one of these 3 and an 8 in one of these 3. I would tend to say the odds lead to an 8 being in one of these 3 and one of these 3. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can do. Like, yes, there isn't a 2 here, which this 8 would have eliminated a 2, but we're still between a 1-9 pair or a 6-4 pair. If it was the 6 and the 4, it would eliminate the 6 and the 4 here, and then this would be 1 or 9, and then this would be 1 or 9. If it was 1 or 9, then it would eliminate the 1 and 9 here, and this would be 6, and then this would be 4. So we're hoping this is 1 and 9 pair. This can't be an 8. I mean a 9. It never could have been. Which maybe that means something, because now if I put a 9 here, then this couldn't be 1, and it would have to be 9, 2 9s to get to a 1. And so that can't work. If I put a 6 here, then this just couldn't be 4. But it could be 1 or 9. And then if I put a 1 here, this could be 6 and only 6. So you have 1 makes this 6. 6 makes this 1 or 9, with the other being 1 or 9. And 9 means it can't be 9 or 1, so it would have to be 6 and 4. Unfortunately, I think all three of those are actually valid possibilities. I thought I was eliminating something, but it doesn't seem like I am. And we still have this throwing a monkey in the wrench. A monkey wrench in the works. Then 9 here. Oh, this can't be 9 because of the 1 right next to it. Right, so if this can't be 9, this has to be 9. Alright. That doesn't, I think, help us any farther. And we do have a solid number here, so instead of just going around and trying to brute force it, we can say 1 can't go here now. Which maybe if we look at 1s, that would have affected something, but not so much. Yeah, I don't think that helped me as much as I would have liked it to. And what else? What else can we determine? Just looking at each digit to see if there's something I overlooked. I think I've been somewhat good about not labeling things. My stomach is growling like crazy. If this was 1, this couldn't be 9. If this was 9, this couldn't be 9. If this was 4, it could be 9. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I should be looking for some possible combination and not just trying to brute force it. But I'm not seeing it. Is there possibly some tricky trick happening here that requires more consideration or speculation? Maybe we should look at the elevated numbers and see if we can apply elevated numbers to boxes. Maybe that would help. What do we know for certainty? What must be in a spot? A 2 must be here, which means 2s wouldn't be applied there. And that's the only elevated number, meaning a 2 must be in that row. A 2 must be in these rows, in either this spot or this spot. A 4 and a 6 here kind of are eliminated, but not really. They will be, if one of these is proven to be a 4 or 6, it will eliminate the other. Same is true for the 2 and 8. The only possibility here would be a 9 and 5 as far as digits that wouldn't conflict. But there is a scenario here where you have 2 and 6 or 2 and 5. So that seems still very doable. Let's see. It seems like I'm just going to have to consider every single square. Let's just look at every single square. Again. If maybe there was a 7 here, since 7s do say they have to be here or here, maybe there's something to consider here on that. If this was a 7, then this couldn't be 3, and this couldn't be 3, and this couldn't be 3. If this was a 7, then this couldn't be 3, and this couldn't be 3, and then there wouldn't be a 3 at all in the box. So that's not 7. That's 7. Okay. Which then, if the 7 is here, then this is 3. And this is 2. And let's see, what can we now eliminate? Some other possibilities. This 3 is not really affecting too much here. This 2 does eliminate, like this 8. So then we can now mark these as being 1 9s or 4 6s. So that gets us into a slightly better position. This 2, well, let's just look at the 3s here. This 3 eliminates that 2, and would have eliminated 7 here. This 2 eliminates this 8 and this 3. This 2 eliminates an 8. This 2 eliminates a 3 and an 8. So we have fewer possibilities now. But my knee-jerk reaction then, after eliminating these 3 digits and 1 digit here, would just be to go back and do basic Sudoku again. If the 1 was here, then the 9 would have to be here. And then this would be 2 8. And so 2 8 plus 1 9 would leave the 6 here. That works. If the 1 9 was here, that would eliminate the 1 9. And then this would have to be a 2 and a 6, and then this would be an 8. So that possibility also works. So we haven't eliminated enough possibilities. If we're eliminating 2s from this box, does that help me with anything else? Not quite yet. If this was just 6 7 8 9 and this was 2 6 7 8 9, then we would know the 2 is here, but there's also a possibility of it being here. Do we have a possibility of 9s being one of these 2 spots? It does seem still doable. Yeah, let's just do basic brute force Sudoku. See what we can find. Well, we've got it down to the point where 4 can only be here or here, and that may have been a while ago, so that means this can't have a 4 in it, which also means this spot is either 4 or this spot is 4. Seven. Have we eliminated the possibility of 7s being anywhere else? I guess. Maybe we have. I'd assume that these digit possibilities are right. And since there's a 3 here, there really can't be a 7 on this. Since 7 is blocked here. Yeah, and this is a V, so it couldn't have 7. So it may have been a while ago that we could have put a 7 in this. That may have actually been a long while ago that we could have put a 7 in this. Which means these two, one of those two have to be a 7. Which if this was 3, this couldn't be 7. If this was 7, this couldn't be 3. And this couldn't be 3. But if this was 7, this over here still could be 3. So you've got a 3 pair possibility and a 7 pair possibility just crisscrossing each other. Which would eliminate, I guess, maybe a 3-7 here. Maybe it would eliminate that. 2 plus 7 doesn't change anything. 7 plus 9 doesn't change anything. If we knew a 3 was here, we could eliminate the 7 there. Let's see if we can find anything else out. Yeah. Again, I guess I'm just gonna have to run some scenarios in the head through my head. We do have a 6, 8, 9 possibility here, which then tells me that a 2 has to be in here to fill this column. So I was just overlooking that. That means that has to be an 8. Then since there's only one place for a 9 now, we have a 1, 6 pair here, which, okay. Then you get rid of 1s and 6s as a possibility. And then 6, 8, 9 also would get rid of 6s there. And then 8 there. And I guess we get rid of the 6 here too. It's pretty much one of those has to be an 8. Yeah. which we can elevate an 8 and say it has to be one of those. And then one of these have to be a 6, which I'm over elevating things now at that point. A 2 8 here and a 6 or 5. No. Anywhere where you place a 5, that's probably the least helpful placement. So we might find ourselves placing 5s kind of as the last measure of resort. Yeah, and brute force is just not going to help me. They've tested this puzzle or handcrafted this puzzle in such a way that you're not just going to stupidly stumble into a solution. You're going to have to solve it the way they want you to solve it. Which, the question I guess is, what is the next digit? Or what was even the last digit that we put in? It was a while ago and I'm not willing to really... I mean, I guess you can just go backwards and see that the last digit here was an 8. And then you could just go forwards. You could click forwards forever to get back to where you were. So effectively, you might have a save state system if you just wanted to click backwards forever. Regardless, this 8 only does nothing for us. This 2 gets rid of this 8, which then tells us the 8 has to either be here or here. Okay. So if this was 6, this couldn't be 4. If this is 9, it couldn't be 1. If it's 5, it could be either. If this is 6, it doesn't eliminate any possibilities over here. If this was 8, let's consider that, then a 2 couldn't be here. If this is 8, a 2 couldn't be here. If this is 6, a 4 can't be here. If this is 9, a 1 can't be here. If this is 9, a 1 can't be here. If this is 6, a 4 can't be here. Which we've already determined a 4 can't be here because we couldn't get a 1 in here because there was a 1 in the box already. If we look at this second row, let's see if there's a digit that can't be placed but in one location. Not that I see. There is, in this third row, only 2 places where an 8 can be. And then when you get to like this fourth row, there's just no point in even looking at any of that. In this fifth row, a 2 could be here, or a 2 could be here. If a 2 is here, then this can't be 8, and then this can't be 2, which isn't a big deal. There's nothing you're going to get from that row. There's a couple places where a 2 can be, a couple places where a 4 can be, a couple places where a 6 can be, and a couple places where an 8 can be. If we were to elevate the 8s here and say that 8 has to be in this row, and then we know 2 can only be in this row, can we possibly get it down to something more if we knew this wasn't 8, then we would have a 2 and 8 in this pair, and that would be good enough to eliminate all the other possibilities in those 2 cells. But the fact that an 8 can be here is the problem. So let's think about what would happen if we put an 8 here. Well, it would mean that a 2 and 8 couldn't be here, and this would be either 6 or 7, and then a 2 and 8 would be here, which would eliminate 8 from this possibility and make this a 4. So I think pretty much all of these cells are somewhat interconnected. Once we figure out one, we'll figure out all of them. Which might mean that 2 can't go in this spot. If that is the case, then maybe this is 2, but that really feels like that would just be guessing. We need something that would have turned the corner, or we need some other bit of information that we're overlooking. Let's give it one more try with just basic brute force Sudoku, then I'm going to hit a smart hint just for the interest of time. We're 70 minutes in, we've had good progress, no real complaints so far. But yeah, we are hitting a speed bump on the 6-star puzzle, which I guess should be expected because we've hit speed bumps in every other 6-star and above puzzle, except for one oddly overrated difficulty puzzle. Almost certainly I would guess that the difficulty rating in the Sudoku puzzles by stars is not generated by the number of steps to solve or anything like that, anything that would be mathematically provable. It's probably more just a generic feeling that whoever playtested the puzzle, probably the Cracking the Cryptic main guy on his YouTube channel, felt like they should give it. Or it's a self-reported difficulty. I think it probably is a self-reported difficulty now that I think about it more. But yeah, and that could explain inconsistencies, certainly if it is a case of just self-reported difficulties. We should elevate these as having to be an 8, which maybe we'll consider those in a second. But I am noticing that an 8 here wouldn't really affect anything, and an 8 here wouldn't really affect anything, so we should just mark those as having to be 8s too. Six. Yeah, all we can basically know is that this is a triple, which we kind of had already known. Okay, let's consider these then. If an 8 is here, then a 2 couldn't be here, and a 2 couldn't be here, which would put the 2 here. Okay. If an 8 was here, a 2 couldn't be here, and a 2 couldn't be here. So we need to look at 2s now. If an 8 is here, then 2 can't be here, 2 can be here. That eliminates the possibility of a 2 here in this row. Okay. Truly, that does nothing to stop a 2 from being here or a 2 from being over here. Nothing at all. And yeah, if an 8 was 8 can't be here, but an 8 could be in one of these 4 spots. And I think 1, 3s, and 4s all are similarly set up. Let's see if we have a smart hint. Something we're overlooking. 1 can only go in the box in row 3, column 2. So let's look at the 1s and see why that is the case. Why is it that 1 cannot go here? Because a 9 is there. Ah, okay. So that's what I overlooked. Looked, that's a 1, and that's a 6. And I guess that eliminates all other possibilities to make that a 4, which means that can't be a 6. This is a 1-2 pair now. And then we did a 1 and a 6 here, which I guess eliminates that from being a 9. And a 4, if that was still a possibility. So we have 4, 5, 7, and potentially 8 in the rest of this row. If this was 2, then this couldn't be 3. That would give you 6 and 8 and 1, 6, 9. Well, wait a minute. Let's go ahead and just eliminate 1 as a possibility there. And then rethink this. 6 and 9 now are a pair, which can actually eliminate 6 here and 9 here. So this is either a 1, 9 or a 6 and 4. Have we gotten any further down that path yet? Yeah. Still not certain on that one. Although, yeah, I still think we need to be looking here. If this was 2, this can't be 3. Then this would be 6 or 8. If this was 6, then both of these would be 9, so this can't be 6. That's a possibility. That should have been eliminated. And then this same reason, if this was 9, would eliminate the 6 and 9. So this can't be 9. So we have a 3-8 pair here. Okay. And so it's all just going to fall down into potential things that can't happen. Like if this was 9, that eliminates this as being 1. But if this is 9, that doesn't do anything for us. So we may be done with this box for a while. And we may just have to live with the fact that these boxes are very close to being done, but they aren't giving us anything more helpful. But yeah, if this was 2, this couldn't be 3, and we would know this is 8. But what stops this from being 1? Which then would let that be 3. Which would let that be 8, and still not really explain which one of these is a 6 or which one of these is a 9. Yeah. And until we figured out, like, this 9 was a 9, which I think it is, we can't eliminate the 1 here, and eliminating the 1 here. Well, wait a minute. No, there's too many other places where a 9 could be, so that wouldn't actually help me. Let's see. is there anything we can infer from the rest of this? 3 would just mean this couldn't be a 2. And 9 would just mean this couldn't be a 1. 1 would mean this can't be a 9. Yeah. We'll go around with just basic brute force Sudoku and see if there's something new I'm overlooking, but I think I am gonna just need a smart hint again. So far the first smart hint really is just showing that there's something I overlooked, so it doesn't feel like I missed a complete concept. But smart hints tend not to really highlight entire concepts that you could easily overlook. That would be in the handwritten, more complicated solutions. The smart hint falls completely on its face whenever you need a more complicated solution. I guess one of these has to be 9, but that doesn't really change too much. I could highlight that as a possibility. One of those has to be a 9, but it wouldn't help anything. It would just be labeling something for no reason. So there is a single hidden column. One can only go in row 4, column 1. Why is that the case? I wish the smart hint could explain itself better. Does 1 have to be in this row? Can 1 not be in this row? Not in any way that I can see. I don't think we've proven that. Oh, I guess what I'm missing, I'm not looking at the negative inferences. The 4 here and the 1 would equal 5, so 1 has to go in this spot. Which then will eliminate a little bit, but not that much. Then this 2 will eliminate a little bit, but not that much. This gives us a 1, 6, 8 combination, which means I can get rid of 1s, 6s, and 8s as possibilities in those boxes. Then 1 being here still lets this be 3 and 8. Lets this be 6 and 9. So no help on that. If the digits were complementary in this 3 triple, if it was like 1, 9, 6, then I would know 6 would need to be in the middle. But 1, 6, 8 don't complement each other in any way. 1 complements 9 to get to 10. 6 complements 4 to get to 10, and 8 complements 2 to get to 10. So, yeah. Still a lot of possibilities. And it just doesn't feel like that fixes anything. I still have no idea why this game just occasionally just brings up the mouse clock, which that's something that you really shouldn't even see in modern computers. The idea of a computer telling you to wait because it's processing, that it can't do things in the background asynchronously. That's pretty old school way of thinking, single core, single thread processing concept instead of multi-thread processing. Although Windows did come out with multitasking actually way earlier than the mandatory requirement of having only one, having more than one thread, which threads didn't even exist originally. It would have been core. Yeah. Pentium 1s, I'm pretty sure it didn't have multi-cores. I'm not sure Pentium 2s or 3s even had multi-cores as far as processors go. They were just speeding up the single core in most cases, and so everything would be done in a queue in a line when you had single core computing, and it would seem like you were doing multiple things at once, but you really weren't. You were just taking very thin time slices out of the CPU's millions of cycles, and for the most part, even now, I would say the implementation of 4-core, 6-core, 8-core, as many cores as you can afford computers hasn't really helped in a lot of scenarios. Gaming in particular, where games are often very poorly optimized to run on just one core, maybe 2 cores. They're definitely not optimized or requiring 4 cores. And then threads are really just splitting cores in half to say that there is some part of each core that is being shared, but not all of it. And it's just yet another way of CPUs getting bigger numbers to get to 3, 4, 5 gigahertz claims, when the base clock frequency honestly has not increased that much, just because of the laws of physics and thermodynamics. A base clock frequency of 800 megahertz is not an order of magnitude faster than the base clock frequency of a like Pentium 1 that might be somewhere around 200 megahertz, 100 megahertz. In fact, the 8086 was the original CPU for PCs, and it was like at 30 megahertz, I believe, to start with, and could maybe be overclocked if you had the DX processors. And then they had a math coprocessor, which it was only about doing math. Clearly, I'm losing some interest here, though, because I'm kind of rambling. Yeah, I'm just going to have to use the smart hint. I'm not even going to bother going through it again. Candidate line row. In box 9, 2 can only go in row 7. We figured that out. The 2 can only be here or here, which removes 2 as a candidate from row 7, column 5, and column 6, which we had done that. So the smart hint is taking us back because it obviously doesn't really generate its hints correctly, and there's no programming here to eliminate things that had already been marked. This creates a domino X connection and possible neighbors, which is not something I have ever seen in any of the other puzzles at all. Notes. So row 8 here, column 7, can only be 1, 4, 6. We got to that. We're moving 1 and 2 as candidates in row 8, column 6. Here. Because this can be 1, 4, 6, yes, there should not be a 2 here. Okay, I missed that. And then this is highlighted as needing to be a 2, and then this tells me that this is 2. Okay, so then that gets me on a path now where I could maybe do some things myself without having to use any smart hints. Maybe we're back on track, assuming I can just continue to pay attention and not get distracted. 3 can't work, and 8 can't work if it's a 2, and that doesn't eliminate much else. 2 here means a 2 could be here, and an 8 could be here, or a 2 could be here, and then an 8 could be somewhere else. And we already have a 2 up here, so that's not a consideration. We can look at the 8s. 8s could be somewhere else. If the possibility here is one of these has to be 1, 4, and 6. If this was 4, then neither side could be 6, which would leave a 6 here. If this was 6, then neither side could be a 4, which leaves a 4 here and a 4 here. If this is 1, then neither side could be 9, and that would eliminate the possibility of this being 1, 9, so 9 could not be here, 9 would have to be here. If this was 4, neither of these could be 6, so, and this couldn't be 6, so then this would have to be 6 and 4. And then if this was 6, then none of these could be 6, and none of these could be 4, and that would be 4 and 6. So I think that just means all of these are still valid possibilities, but it is going to create a weird scenario where if this was 4 and this eliminated 6 both here, then 4 and 6 would be gone. This would be 1 and 9. 4 and 6 would be here. That can't work. So yeah, let me just think about this again. 4 here, making neither one of these 6, making this a 1, 9, making that not impossible. That is not 4. 6 here, eliminating these 2 from being 4, meaning this is a 1, 9, which would make, yeah, if this was 6, this would eliminate 4, this would be a 1, 9, 6, and 4 being here. I think works. Oh, this is just too much to consider. Let's try 1 and we'll go back to 6s. If this is a 1, then neither one of these are 9, which is not a problem. But then this is a 4, 6. So we'd have 4, 6, and 1, which then this could be a 9. And then this would be 3 and 8. So 1 does seem to work. So we're going to have to go back to 6 and consider it again. If this is a 6, neither one of these are 4. So, and neither one of these would be 4. Which would make this a 1, 9. So this would have to be a 4 in that case. And a 4 in that case would still have a 3 and an 8 as a possibility. Yeah. So both of those are possible still. And if this was 1, that's not a problem as far as a 4 here and a 4 here. That's where it would come into play, is that if there was a 1 here, this couldn't be 4 either in either places. So this would have to be 4, 6. 4, 6, 1. 9 here. And then 9 with a 3 here is not a problem, or an 8 here is not a problem. A 1 here is not a problem. And a 8 here is not a problem. And then there's just no problems there either. Let's just go with another smart hint. In box 3, it's jumping all around. 5 can only go in column 9, which eliminates it from row 4, column 9. Okay. I see that logic. Which, if this was an 8, this can't be 2. If this was an 8, this can't be 2. Are we certain that there is no way 2 and 8 can't be here? Yeah. If this was 2, this would be 5. Then that wouldn't really affect anything here. If this was 2, then this would eliminate 8. And I would leave it as a 6, 7. And if this is 8, that would eliminate 2, leaving this as a 6, 7. So, yes. 2 and 8 should not be possible in that box. Which, if this turns out to be a 6, that would eliminate the possibility of this being a 4. And we're using this box to mark 2 different things. In one, I have a 6-4 pair that I've marked, and I probably should have marked it in like red, but then that means something different also. I just need a third color, like a blue ink instead of a black ink pen, or which they already have blue ink marking happening here, so maybe you make a yellow highlight pen or an inverted color pen, so it would, the number would be outlined in a black line with an inner of white pixels. I guess we should just keep going down here. Domino non-X connection and possible neighboring notes. This is way too long of a description. Row 4, column 9 can only have a 2, 8 in it, removing the 8 as a candidate in row 3, column 9. This can only be 2 or 8, and in both situations that would mean that can't be 8, isn't it? That case, yes. So that means that's 5. And that means that's 6. And that means this is 2. And that means this is 8. And that means this is 4. And this is 1. This is 5. And the entire puzzle may just really collapse at this point. Or we may hit a speed bump, need more assistance. Okay. The thought here would be that there should be something stopping this from being a 7, yes. This 3 stops this from being a 7, so that has to be 4. And that has to be 7. And that means one box is finished here and one box is finished here, and then we have 6, 8, 9 up here. That means at some point we eliminated this down to a 5 and this to a 7, so we turn the corner, and I'm now looking down here. 5 would eliminate just nothing, really. 7 would eliminate nothing here. Okay. I don't see the next step, but I think it should be pretty obvious what the next step is. It should be sticking out like a sore thumb, but my tired brain doesn't want to grasp at it. Well, maybe it is more complicated than I thought it would be. Alright, I'm gonna have to go and pause this recording. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Minor emergency needed to be taken care of. Nothing really that important for that big. So where were we? We were just about to finish, I think, this puzzle at 98 minutes into it. Of course, that really wrecked my momentum. So I guess we could kind of start with just doing a brute force Sudoku and just see if we have any solutions. I suspect no, we don't, and that the rest of this puzzle will have to be solved using the X's and V's and the exclusions of X's and V's as possibilities. And I would heavily suspect that 6 is one of the last digits that we will do anything with. Yeah, okay. So where are we? Then we've got a lot of numbers that mostly have all been eliminated down to their possibilities. And there is this possibility with this combination that seems to stand out. We really haven't looked into this at all, because we really haven't gotten enough ends for this to work. Like if this is a 5-9 pair and this is a 5-9 pair, which I'm noticing that it is now. Let's just go ahead and mark that. Then that means this can't be 9, which should have already been marked. Yeah, I've just been ignoring this entire middle section. This here can't be 9. This can't be 9. And this can't be 9. Which the possibilities should be somewhat small. But I don't think it really changes too much, because it would just mean that one of these two has to be 9, thus this one can't be 1, thus this has to be 1. Okay. That means possibly that this is a 6-8 pair, where this could be either 6 or 8. I think this is a 6-8 pair. If that was the case, then this can't be 6. I don't think it eliminates anything else. And then if this was 6, then this would be 4, and that's going to make that 7. If this was 8, then that would be 2, and then this would be 6. And that would allow that to still be 4. But there's nowhere else where a 7 can be. So it's actually much simpler than that. Just look where the 7s can be, it has to be there. Then that has to be a 3. That has to be a 2. That makes this have to be a 4. That makes this have to be a 6. And I really wasn't expecting to just fill in this entire central part, which obviously I wasn't, because I wasn't looking at it, and had I been looking at it, then we could have seen that the rest of this puzzle was capable of collapsing under those possible solutions. Is this going to be all the way down to the final solution? We've got 7s down now, so 1 digit down. I guess will really just be a matter of time to see how this all plays out. That's a whole box done, that's a whole box done, that's a whole box done. We've got a whole box over here, and we've got almost a complete box here and here. And yeah, that's yet another box down, and we're down to 4 digits that have been eliminated. That's another box down. And that at some point through that process means that this turned into 9, this turned into 6, and this turned into 8. And so we have only 2 digits left. Yep. With 2 now being finished and the 8 being finished. So just 104 minutes to solve the whole puzzle. Let's go ahead and highlight every place with some color on it and turn off the coloring. I do think the coloring helped in this case, and in most of the cases of the Sudoku puzzles the coloring did help. But there definitely were some times where the puzzles were just so incredibly complicated and there just was not enough possible colors to use. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's take a moment, I suppose, and just highlight some of the complaints I have with the interface. Not specifically the puzzles. Puzzles have their own problems. They're way too difficult, and the hints system attached to each individual puzzle is broken very often with smart hints and full of typos with the handwritten hints. But just looking at the interface, I kind of like the number pad idea. I would question how well you can do that with a controller or even a Steam Deck. Although on Steam Decks you probably could mark specific regions on the touchpads to be mapped to each of the digits. I'm not sure though you could mark the extra buttons though. This is not a 3x3 grid number pad. This is a 4x4 grid plus a backspace plus a forward, a redo, and an undo. And that's assuming you don't need a button for multi-select, which you do, and you don't need a button for help, which you sometimes do, and you probably would be nice to have a pause in the configuration. Although, why have the configuration settings here when you could just have put that in the pause menu? Let's see. We could erase the information or apply empty stars or remove empty stars if you wanted to. Yeah, this allows you to replay puzzles if you need to, which is a nice function. But then the rest of these menus are pretty bare bones. Like, frankly, why even have a submenu with video when you could just have had the video settings at the top here? Or have video and themes be merged. The themes are pathetically too similar and not great. You should be able to have several themes of whether you want waves or whether you want bars, and then you should just have a primary color, secondary color, third color, fourth color as a color picker as an option. I never felt any need to move away from this background theme and this background theme doesn't even look that interesting. And then the gameplay, even though there is a hint past a lot of these, I don't know what they really mean. And then you click custom button and nothing happens. So I don't know if you're supposed to make some kind of custom like INI configuration file and put it in the folders, but in the download folder for Cracking the Cryptic, but just by default custom's not launching anything, and the explanations aren't great and the settings aren't great. It is questionable whether a game like this should have any performance settings at all. Otherwise, it frankly should just be like a battery saver mode. And honestly, I question whether a battery saver mode would really change something. Some things definitely are needed. There are going to be people who want to highlight no errors or all errors or duplicate only. But frankly, so many of these puzzles are so difficult, you really should just keep it on all errors until you become an expert. Note sizes. I wish there was an extra large here. I wish there was just a way to select a slightly different font. And then you have the number pad layout of the bottom of the left. Or, no, not that setting. Where is it? Puzzle layout here. Traditional puzzle layout where you could change it completely like this, but this doesn't really work for me, particularly if you're in and out of the hints. This kind of works for me if you were playing in a vertical screen, but I still wouldn't really love this myself, but I can see some people liking it, and I imagine it is just a case where that was the default way originally when they made this game. So they probably have made some progress, but nowhere near enough. And then you just don't have any other settings, so by far this takes up more of the screen and leaves less negative empty space in the background unused. But as for the actual options, whether it's in the traditional layout or this layout, it's almost never the case that I want the multi-selection button here to be anything other than this button. By default, when you start the game, the settings are set to start it here. You can change that in the settings, but you probably don't want that. And you almost certainly never want this. Unless you're going to just cheat a puzzle, which that's the only time you would use this, is if you're just to highlight everything and fill in multiple numbers into multiple places. The color highlighting, since we're here, is very, very useless in that these three colors are difficult to see. Notice it, I missed it before, and they don't actually highlight. They actually darken. So if the idea was that you needed to make groups of numbers that you would pay less attention to, you definitely don't need 3 buttons out of 9 taking up that if you were just going to black it out. And noticeably, you can't just select one and black it out completely where you wouldn't see it at all, which would be the next step. Certainly if you wanted to do something like that, is to be able to black out potentially entire rows. I have suggested in the past maybe having like a little eyeball you could just click that would hide an entire row so you just don't look at it at the moment. That probably wouldn't help you in the long run, but it would be something you could potentially do. The rest of these highlight colors are not the shades of green that I would pick, nor is there a way to change the colors. You'd think you could just like right click on them or maybe even go into a custom config file, but there's nothing in the help that tells you you can change the colors that way. But yeah, I would probably prefer, if you can't think of anything better, a red, green, blue, dark red, dark green, dark blue, light red, light green, light blue, or cyan, yellow, and magenta as possibilities with red, green, blue, which would give you 6 colors. But yeah, I'd also just like to be able to select any color possible. This button here to solid mark something instead of share, split mark something, is just something you don't even need. Because if you had a pink and an orange and it was marked like that, then if you wanted to solid mark this, you'd just take the pink off and then it would be orange. Yeah, so it only saves you time potentially if you have like multiple colors marked, which the multiple colors you almost never do it. You're almost never going to go beyond 3 colors at most. It only saves you so much to then click this and click this. Yeah. So do you really need a button here for that solid color at all? No. And then this X you would think would mean you're removing the color, but it's not. It is instead adding an X into the square, which you can only see for uncompleted numbers, which X's are only really used in sandwich variants of Sudoku with 1/9s. They were introduced that way in the samples, at least. You could use the X for something else, but I don't think it would really make a lot of sense in that case. Even the X at that point barely makes sense, because in sandwich Sudokus an X just means that it's not 1 or 9, but you could fill in all the digits between 1 and 9, 2 through 8, and mean the exact same thing, and actually make more progress with this interface. Which, yeah. And then the clear button is always available, whereas maybe it would be better to hide it under, say, this menu. And then the upper numbers scream out that there should be a possibility that there should be some lower numbers, and it doesn't really work that way when it totally should be. You do have this weird situation where when you are putting numbers in this way, pencil marking in the numbers, you can squish all of the numbers to 1 through 9 in one row. But for the exact same font and the exact same size, when you try to squish 1 through 9 in the upper numbers, it will very quickly, by the 3rd digit, put the upper number down below and squeeze it around like it's supposed to be a corner number, which that doesn't mean anything to me. It would be incredibly helpful when you have a pair of digits that could be one of 3 combinations, to have, say, a 1, 9, then a 2 and 8, then a 3 and 7 in the lower digit, to equal 10 in this case. So yeah, if you can have upper numbers, you should be able to have lower numbers. It'd be pretty easy to add that feature. You could do it simply just by not even changing the layout at this point, just by adding a button here. They would have an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down. Very rarely did I find it very useful to have red upper numbers, but the feature's there, so I wouldn't get rid of it. It might have been helpful, again, if you could right click this box and change the color to a different color. And then the pencil mark feature obviously does need to exist, and the red pencil mark feature I would argue I used even less than the red upper number feature. So again, change that to a different color. And arguably what I would like instead of a red number is just a line through the number, or even a dash symbol, an arrow symbol that you could use to put in between two numbers. Like, introduce a new symbol, so instead of typing in 1 through 9 in the pencil marks, I could type 1, 9, then the extra button is an arrow with a double arrows pointing on either side, and then that would be 3 symbols and just a little emoji of a double arrow pointing in both sides. And you don't even really have to have a double arrow. It could just be an arrow pointing to the right or an arrow pointing to the left. It would still mean the same thing. So there's yet another feature button that you could add here instead of having empty space. And if you can think of something else, there's probably room here for a calculator button to bring up the calculator immediately instead of just toggling help on and off, or a log button. There is, since this is a video game, there is definitely room for there to be a log of every single move, and there is definitely room for when you solve each Sudoku puzzle to see that log be replayed in a nice little animation from the beginning to the end to show just how you solved it. And then that would be nothing, really. That would be a nice little thing. Maybe you even take that little animated GIF movie that you would make from the log and you make it shareable so that you could put it on places like Facebook and Twitter and spoil the puzzles. But yeah, you could also force a warning at the front of any shareable videos to avoid spoilers. But yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement. There's weirdly no creator feature in Cracking the Cryptic. It seems like the community is very much encouraged to make puzzles and submit puzzles. So how do you create one using the game for your own personal use or to share and upload to a community? I have no idea. I imagine you have to go to Cracking the Cryptic's website and do it on the website. Obviously people are sharing them because that's what's being covered on the Cracking the Cryptic YouTube channel. Why is that not integrated into the video game, though? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, for your own personal testing, a creative feature would be nice. A randomized feature would be nice. But yeah, there's still a lot of room for improvement. Let's look at the hints and then we'll just be done with the series. I don't want to go too long since these episodes are already super long, complaining about the major problems. The biggest problem has always been the fact that the handwritten hints are buggy and not being checked. Place 5 in box 7 is the first hint. It can never go on a... Alright, it says place 5 in box 7. It can never go on an X domino. So 5 can't be here. And then 5 started with a 5 here, started with a 5 here, and started with a 5 here. So yes, that would have been a simple thing, and I probably did find that pretty early. Although I don't think I found it as my first move by any means. Where can 3 go in box 7? Only in row 7, column 1. It can't go next to the 2, or it would need to V, and it can't go next to the 7, or it would need an X. And it can't go on the X, because then that would repeat a 7. I did figure that out too. Maybe I was slow to figure it out though. Where can 8 go in box 7? So the first 3 hints, maybe 4 or 5 hints, are going to just fill in this box. Only in row 8, column 1, for similar reasons explained in hint B? Wow. So, yeah. We once again have run into a typo. These have always been numbered hints. We've never had a hint B system. It would be fine if it was hint B. It would actually make more logical sense if the hints were alpha instead of numeric. Because that would just be one less digit written into the hint that somebody could dyslexically read in the wrong place. Although, arguably, if you were labeling the columns by letters, as you would in an Excel sheet, and the rows by numbers, the hints should be probably in Greek letters at that point. So it should be alpha hint, beta hint, gamma hint, delta hint, whatever the Greek alphabet would be in the proper order. And that would be a path for further education too. Moving on to hint 4. 3 can only go in one position, and it's in column 3. Again, negative constraints are important here to appreciate that they can't go next to a 7. So 3 has to go here because it can't be next to 7 here, and we'd already done the 3 here. So that means the 3 would have had to have been in one of these positions, and maybe we'd already determined that the 7 was here by the time we get to hint 4. 3 can be placed in box 8. Now, row 8, column 5. And 2 can be placed in box 8 now. They're kind of jumping around. In B. What does in B stand for? Let's see. In B, this derives from the fact that the 2 in box 9 must go in row 7, column 7, or column 9. Again, thanks to negative constraints. 2 must be here and must be here, which means 8 can't be here. I don't even know what in B is supposed to stand for. I think that would be like EG for ergo. But even ergo is too cryptic of a phrase. Maybe it's just literally a typo, capital N, capital B. And it's supposed to just be this derives from the fact that the 2 in box 9 must be either here or here. Because I guess the 2 can't be in this row for some reason, or this row for some reason, or this row and this spot. I would have had to see what state the puzzle was in to fully understand this hint, and I would have had to have seen that hint when it was needed. And that's kind of a problem too. I really do wish that there were screenshots of what the current state of the puzzle was under these hints, and you could just click on it to see the screenshot at the bare minimum, or hover over it to see that. And maybe the screenshots wouldn't show the entirety of the puzzle, just show what should be filled in for that hint to make sense. 7 in box 1 can only go in row 2, column 2 now, placing 7 in box 3, 2. Also, they really should use the phrase also always as far as a style guide. Yeah, anytime you're mentioning numbers a lot, it should just always be also instead of 2. Frankly, TOO is a terrible spelling or use of two. It's one letter shorter than also, ALSO, anyways, with the exact same meaning. So anyways, hint 6 gets us the 7 here. Then hint 7 remembers that the 1-9 in box 1, remember to keep the 1-9 apart in box 1. So place the 6 in row 3, column 1. Okay. There's a 5-7 pair in box 8, row 7, column 5 and 6. This means 8 in box 8 can only be in row 9. And now, because you cannot put 8 adjacent to a 2, there is a 2-8 pair in row 7, column 7, in row 7, column 9. 2-8 pair where? Row 7. Oh yeah, 2-8 pair here. Column 7, row 7, and column 9, row 7, making that 2-8 pair. That means the 6 has only one position in column 9, which is here, row 2, column 9. The puzzle is now straightforward, debatable. Just watch out for the negative constraint IE. If you're going to use IE, it should be capitalized, in my opinion. You can never have a domino summing to 5 without a V, or a domino summing to 10 without an X. Alright, and that took another 10 minutes to just read the hints. We are done. Yep. And so that is it for the free puzzles, which, in fairness, you get some free puzzles with a free to start game, which it wouldn't really be a game at all if you didn't have some free puzzles. They've launched, in the time of me covering this series, this bonus pack of Holiday 2024 pack, which has 2 puzzles, and they've had to update the puzzle a couple times. It definitely feels like, though, the Line's Variety Pack should have at least 3 sample puzzles. To the bonus packs, I get why that wouldn't be the case. The order in which these packs are listed seems very weird, and for a widescreen computer, it's also very weird that you don't have like multiple columns and try to spread this out a little bit more. You could probably have 3 DLCs in a 3x3 grid from that. There should probably be at least 3 sample puzzles from the Genuinely Appreciate Sudoku Volume 1 and 2, which they should probably also explain. That's what the gas means. And then they hide the free packs way down here. And there's 23 super difficult puzzles, and ending with Miser at 10 stars, 234 minutes to solve that puzzle. In the 500,000 subscribers celebration. And then there are 7 more varied and difficult puzzles here that you definitely should do these first. I would say do the variety pack first, then maybe do the sample domino pack second. Maybe even do the other way around. It wouldn't hurt too bad if you did the sample dominoes pack first and then the variety pack, but definitely leave the 500,000 subscriber celebration. There is some tutorial here compared to Sudoku Universe, which I'm pretty sure didn't have any tutorial, but considering how Cracking the Cryptic has a YouTube page, it's kind of ridiculous that there isn't just a video that he's made on YouTube they could be playing right now to explain it visually. It's also kind of weird. You scroll down here and it clips off some of the fonts, and there is a better way to program that, certainly, to have kind of a buffer, and it's clipping off with a top banner for no reason, when really everything should just be in the top left here, and instead there's this overlay of white. The rules here only really explain classic Sudoku and domino Sudoku anyways. It's not explaining any of the other variants. In the same way, the tips and tricks here are only talking about domino Sudoku. That does nothing for killer Sudoku or any of the other types of variants, and there's quite a few. And then the explanation of the interface is here, as well as full number mode, corner note mode, center note mode, and highlighter mode. And then it just kind of tells you what mouse and keyboard functions that you should probably get very good using. Almost certainly on the Steam Deck you could map all of these to the controller, but I question if you could map all of these buttons with an app like Joy-to-Key to just an Xbox controller and actually have it make sense. In particular, since if you were trying to play this game with an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller, you would still need to move the cursor with like an analog control stick, and that would just be really slow. Notably here, there isn't a way to select a specific box in the 81 grid of Sudoku. I don't even know if there is a way. Yeah, you can move your selection with the arrow keys. So you could map an analog stick to just moving up, down, left, and right. But that does mean that you would have to move potentially 8 spots from the top left to the bottom right. You'd have to move 8 spots to the right and 8 spots down. That's a lot of movement compared to a mouse. Yeah. So that's going to be it for this series. Again, unfortunately, I cannot suggest and recommend Cracking the Cryptic. I also cannot recommend Sudoku Universe, and I'm not willing to try and find or purchase a third Sudoku game on Steam to see if there's perhaps something slightly better. I do think in interface, Cracking the Cryptic is better than Sudoku Universe, but if you actually want simple Sudoku puzzles with achievements, you should get Sudoku Universe. The state of hints are non-existent in Sudoku Universe, and they are unacceptably buggy in Cracking the Cryptic. That's the second time I've accidentally mispronounced cracking, perhaps subconsciously. For an over a year old application, there's just a lack of polish and a lack of playtesting. I think this probably highlights that the Cracking the Cryptic community, and maybe the Sudoku community in general, has just done a really poor job of advertising it and being open to new players, and it is perhaps a little bit too much of a nerds club where only nerds are welcome, whereas Sudoku puzzles really should be something that even little kids could get into and play, simple ones at least. And yeah, you just don't see that when you give an activity book to kids. Sudokus are nowhere as frequently shown as other pen and paper type activity in puzzles. But yeah, as a video game, I can't recommend Cracking the Cryptic unless they made major improvements over the course of a year or longer. I don't see myself ever coming back to this game. I don't see myself ever buying DLC from this game, so they've actively discouraged me from actually paying them at all in this case, because I don't want to play any more of their super difficult puzzles without having some easier puzzles as a big buffer in between every single super difficult puzzle. There have been several suggestions on how you would turn a Sudoku game into more of a video game that I've thought about it, and frankly, I could probably make my own if I had enough funding, time, or interest in it, that would be much more of a video game now, having seen the competition. But it still would probably be a case where it would be a game that would be a very hard thing to sell to your general audience. Anyways, I could ramble on, but instead let's just end the series here. That's going to be it. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. There is a playlist tab on my YouTube page with a playlist for every other game I've ever covered. Check those out. And if you want to support me further, there's a link down to Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.